Do you like waiting 45 minutes for a ski lift while someone in a Canada Goose jacket complains about the champagne selection at the lodge? No, then let's talk about the places the crowds forgot. See, somewhere along the way, Mountain Town became code for $14 lattes, influencers doing yoga on rocks, and hedge fund managers who discovered flannel. Aspen used to be a mining town. Now, it is a place where people spend more on April's ski cocktails than most Americans pay in monthly rent. Vail, beautiful, sure, but you'll share it with 1.7 million visitors a year, most of whom are wearing matching family ski jackets and blocking the lift line to take photos. This isn't that video. This is about the peaks nobody's hashtagging, the valleys without the velvet ropes, the kind of places where the only line you'll wait in is for pie, and the only celebrity sighting is a grizzly bear who couldn't care less about your follower count. We're counting down 8 mountain towns that are still gloriously, stubbornly quiet. Towns where beauty comes without the billionaire tax, and where rush hour means 3 trucks behind a tractor. Shh, don't tell the Californians. Let's break it down. Number 8. Red Lodge, Montana. Red Lodge has the same jagged peaks as any Colorado ski resort, but none of the fur coats. This is a town where cowboys and backcountry skiers share bar stools, where nobody asks what you do for a living, and where pretension goes to die quietly in a snowbank. It's the raw, unpolished gateway to Yellowstone, and it couldn't care less if you've heard of it. While Bozeman has become a tech bro refuge and Jackson Hole requires a trust fund just to park, Red Lodge is still operating like it's 1987. In a good way. You'll find more Carhartt than Cartier, more Elk than Escalades, and a downtown that looks like a Coen Brothers movie set. If the Coen Brothers made feel-good films about pie shops, population 2,100. That's not a typo. That's a town small enough that the barista knows your order, your dog's name, and probably your medical history. Traffic. What traffic? The main street has exactly 0 stoplights. Chain stores. There's 1 grocery store, and it's locally owned. The nearest Target is 60 miles away in Billings. Starbucks doesn't exist here. You'll drink diner coffee, and you'll like it. Median home price sits around for $150,000 steep for Montana, but laughable compared to Vail's $2.3 million median. Rent averages $1,100, which in mountain town math is basically charity. Cost of living runs about 8% below the national average, and unemployment hovers low thanks to tourism and ranching. Picture this. You wake up in a cabin tucked against the Beartooth Mountains. The air is so crisp it almost hurts to breathe. You step outside with your coffee poured from a percolator. Not a pour over, and the only sound is wind through the pines and the distant rush of Rock Creek. The peaks are dusted with snow, even in June. The sky is that impossible Montana blue, the kind that makes your phone camera look like a liar. No crowds, no noise. Just mountains that don't care about your LinkedIn profile. Red Lodge is quiet for a reason. It's 3 hours from the nearest major airport, Billings, and getting here in winter means praying your tires understand black ice. The Beartooth Highway, one of the most beautiful drives in America, closes from October to May because nature said so. And Yellowstone, it's technically nearby, but that means an hour-plus drive through mountain passes that'll test your relationship with your GPS. Also, the ski hill here isn't Vail. Red Lodge Mountain is a locals-only, no-frills operation with 70 runs and 0 celebrity sightings. If you need a heated gondola and a Prada store at the base, keep driving. A post I came across put it perfectly. I moved here from Denver thinking I'd miss the city. I miss good Thai food and being able to buy socks after 6 p.m. But every morning I see elk in my yard, the mountains look fake. The trade-off is worth it. Here's the catch. Healthcare is limited. Serious emergencies mean a helicopter to Billings. Internet can be spotty outside of town. And winter isn't just cold, it's your car might not start for 3 days cold. The economy is tourism dependent, which means summer's great, but January can feel like the town just pauses. Also, you will see bears. This isn't a selling point for everyone. Could you trade convenience for this kind of quiet? Or do you need your Target runs and Tide delivery to survive? If Red Lodge feels too close to the tourist trail, the next town makes it look like Times Square. Number 7. Joseph, Oregon. They call Joseph the Little Switzerland of America, which sounds like a tourism board fever dream, except it's actually true. Nestled at the base of the Wallowa Mountains, in Oregon's northeastern corner, this town of 1,100 people has the dramatic peaks, the alpine lakes, and the quaint downtown. What it doesn't have, the Swiss prices, the crowds, or anyone who's ever heard of it. Joseph exists in a weird pocket of America that feels forgotten on purpose. It's a 5-hour drive from Portland, which means the weekend warrior crowd can't casually invade. It's got bronze foundries and art galleries, but also working ranches and people who've never used the word artisanal unironically. It's cultured, but in a we'll talk about Hemingway while fixing a fence kind of way. Population density here is absurd. Wallowa County is roughly 3 people per square mile. Chain stores, 0. Fast food, laughably absent. The nearest Walmart is over 80 miles away in La Grande, which locals treat less as an inconvenience and more as a natural moat against civilization. Median home price hovers around $400,000 high for rural Oregon, but nothing compared to Ben's $650. 0 plus madness. Rent is harder to find because people don't leave, but when it pops up, expect around $1,000 for something decent. Cost of living runs about 5% below average, mostly because there's nothing to spend money on anyway. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of Wallowa Lake, surrounded by peaks that look hand-painted. The water is so clear you can count the pebbles 20 feet down. The Wallowa Mountains, locals call them the Alps of Oregon, rise like a wall of granite and snow behind you. There's no hum of traffic, no drone of airplanes, just the lapping of water, the chatter of birds, and maybe the distant clang of a bronze sculptor working in town. You feel like you've fallen into a postcard from 1952, except the Wi-Fi works. Joseph is isolated in a way that borders on aggressive. The nearest commercial airport is in Boise, 3 hours away. Portland's a full-day trip. Winters bring serious snow, and the roads here aren't plowed with city urgency. When a storm hits, you hunker down and wait. Also, the economy is small. Jobs are limited to tourism, art, ranching, and healthcare. If you're not remote working or retired, employment options get thin fast. And while the town has art galleries, don't expect nightlife. The wildest Friday night involves a brewery that closes at 9. Saw a comment that summed it up. Moved to Joseph thinking I'd last a year. That was 8 years ago. I don't make as much money. I don't go to concerts, and I haven't seen a traffic jam since the Obama administration. But I kayak before work, and my blood pressure dropped 20 points. I'm not going back. Let's be real. Healthcare's limited serious issues mean a long drive or a helicopter. The winter isolation isn't charming for everyone. Seasonal depression hits hard when the snow piles up and the nearest city is hours away. Cell service is spotty outside town and internet speeds vary wildly by address. Also, the food scene is limited. You'll master home cooking or go insane. Could you disappear into the Alps of Oregon? Or does 5 hours from a major city sound less like peace and more like a prison sentence? Joseph's the kind of place people find by accident and never leave. But if you want mountains without the cross-country flight, the next spot proves the East Coast has secrets too. Number 6, Lewisburg, West Virginia. Everyone thinks East Coast mountains means the Blue Ridge Parkway clogged with leaf peepers or the Smokies drowning in tourist traps. They forget about West Virginia, and that's exactly how Lewisburg likes it. This is a town that is all the Appalachian beauty rolling peaks, historic architecture, postcard perfect main streets without the bumper-to-bumper traffic of Asheville, or the self-conscious hipness of the Virginia wine country. It's been called the coolest small town in America by budget travel magazines, but somehow the crowds never came. It's got culture, charm, and mountains, minus the Instagram invasion. Population 3,800, small enough that locals actually nod at strangers. Traffic is laughable. The main street is maybe to stoplights, and rush hour is when the church crowd heads to brunch on Sunday. Chain stores exist here, but barely. You'll find local boutiques, antique shops, and one grocery store that feels like a time capsule. The nearest big box sprawl is in Beckley, 30 minutes away, and nobody seems to miss it. Median home price, $120,000. Rent, $900 a month. That's not a typo, that's Appalachian math. Cost of living runs 15% below the national average. Violent crime is almost non-existent. You're more likely to get a parking ticket than encounter trouble. And even that's unlikely because parking is mostly free. Picture driving into the Greenbrier Valley on a fall morning. The mist hangs low over the hills, burning off as the sun rises. The mountains roll forever, softer than out west, but no less beautiful, like someone draped green velvet over ancient stone. You park on a main street lined with 18th century buildings, grab coffee from a local roaster, and realize you haven't heard a car horn in days. The air smells like wood smoke and rain, and the only sound is a church bell somewhere in the distance, doing its one job perfectly. Lewisburg is quiet because it's not exactly convenient. The nearest major airport is in Charleston, 2 hours away on winding mountain roads. Amtrak exists, but runs on its own mysterious schedule. And while the town is culture, it's small-town culture. Think Carnegie Hall concerts and historic theater productions, not during Broadway shows. Winter doesn't hit as hard as Montana, but it's gray, really gray. Appalachian winters are overcast marathons that can test your will to live. And while there's outdoor recreation, hiking, skiing at snowshoe, it requires driving. Everything requires driving. Found a post that nailed it. I moved from Northern Virginia expecting to be bored. I'm not bored, I'm just calm. I hike before work. I know my neighbors. My rent is less than my old car payment. The only downside is I have to explain to people that yes, West Virginia is a real state, and no, I don't live in a coal mine. Here's the trade-off. The economy is limited. Healthcare, education, and tourism drive things, but high-paying jobs require remote work or commuting. Internet is better than you'd expect, but still spotty in rural areas outside town. And yes, the opioid crisis has touched this region. It's not the idyllic bubble it looks like from a travel blog. Also, if you need ethnic food variety, prepare to cook at home. The restaurant scene is charming but not diverse. Could you trade the chaos of the coast for Appalachian quiet? Or does 2 hours from an airport sound like a deal breaker? Lewisburg proves the East Coast has hidden peaks. But if you want true emptiness, the next town makes it look crowded. Number 5. Ely, Nevada. Ely might be the most remote town in the lower 48 that still has a grocery store. Its high desert isolation cranked to 11, surrounded by mountains, but also by absolutely nothing. No ski crowds because there's no ski resort. No influencers because the self-service can't handle their egos. Just stark, brutal beauty and the kind of silence that makes you question whether you exist. This is not a mountain town for people who want cute. This is for people who looked at a map, found the emptiest spot, and said, that one. Population 4,000, but spread across a county larger than some states, making the density basically theoretical. The nearest city of any size is Salt Lake, 4 hours away. Las Vegas is 5. Reno is 5. You're equidistant from everything, which means you're close to nothing. Chain stores? A single McDonald's exists as a monument to civilization's furthest reach. Otherwise, it's local diners, a couple of casinos that feel frozen in 1978, and a grocery store that understands limited selection. Median home price, $180,000. Rent, around $850. Cost of living sits 8% below average, mostly because there's nothing to spend on. Crime is nearly non-existent. The county's biggest law enforcement challenge is probably speeding trucks on Highway 50, the loneliest road in America. Great Basin National Park is your backyard. Picture this, you drive 30 minutes from town and enter a world of ancient bristlecone pine trees that were old when the pyramids were new. The night sky here is rated one of the darkest in America. You stand in the park after sunset and see the Milky Way like a river of light, so dense and bright it almost hurts. The silence isn't peaceful, it's absolute. The mountains rise around you, not dramatic like the Rockies, but steady, patient, like they've been waiting for someone to notice. No one else is here. Just you and a sky that makes you feel appropriately small. Ely is quiet because getting here is a commitment. There's a small regional airport, but flights are rare and expensive. Driving means hours of empty highway in any direction. Winters are cold, summers are brutal, and the wind never fully stops. The economy is mining and tourism, neither of which is stable. Jobs are scarce. Entertainment is make your own, and if you need a hospital, serious cases get airlifted to Salt Lake. Self-service exists in town, but vanishes the moment you leave. One post I found said it all. Moved to Ely because I wanted to disappear. Mission accomplished. I haven't heard a car alarm in 2 years. I've seen more antelope than people. The stars are insane, but I drive 90 minutes for a dentist, and the internet is powered by what I assume is a hamster wheel. Worth it, though, probably. Let's be honest, this is isolation at a level that breaks most people. The social scene is small, you'll know everyone within a year, for better or worse. Mental health resources are limited. Dating options are creative, and the weather swings from your car won't start cold to the pavement is literally melting hot, sometimes within the same week. Could you handle the emptiness? Or does 4 hours to a city sound less like freedom and more like exile? Ely is for people who mean it when they say they want to get away. But if you want isolation with a climbing obsession, the next town understands. Number 4. Lander, Wyoming. Lander is where people go when they want to vanish into the Wind River Range and never be found. Not in a creepy way and I quit my marketing job and now I climb things way. This is a town built for people who think Jackson Hole sold out, who need access to world-class wilderness without the world-class price tag. You won't find designer boutiques or celebrity chefs here. You'll find climbing gyms, gear shops, and people with perpetual tan lines who measure their weeks by summit attempts. It's the climber's paradise that everyone in the know knows about, and everyone else has never heard of. Population, 7,500, small enough to feel like a community. Big enough to have a real grocery store and a hospital. Traffic is non-existent except during the occasional rodeo. Chain stores are minimal. There's a Safeway and a McDonald's. But the local coffee shops went by default. The Wind River Range, one of the most spectacular wilderness areas in America, starts basically at the edge of town. Climbers, backpackers, and anglers use Lander as base camp for adventures. That would make a North Face commercial weep with envy. Median home price, $350,000. Rent, around $1,100. Cost of living is about 5% below average. Though gear expenses will eat your budget alive if you're not careful. Crime is low. Employment hovers around 4%, and the local economy runs on outdoor recreation, healthcare, and a surprising amount of remote work. You wake up in a small house at the foot of the mountains. The Popoaggie River runs through town, clear, cold, and full of trout that act personally offended when you catch them. You drive 20 minutes and you're at the trailhead for Cirque of the Towers, a grand amphitheater that looks like God's personal climbing gym. The peaks here don't just rise, they erupt, jagged and raw, still wearing snow in August. You hike for an hour and don't see another soul. Just wildflowers, marmots, and the kind of quiet that rewires your brain. Lander is remote. The nearest major airport is in Riverton, tiny or Casper, 2 hours away. Salt Lake is 5 hours. Denver is 6. Winter is serious. We're talking negative temps, heavy snow, and roads that require actual skill to navigate. The economy is improving but limited. If you're not in healthcare, outdoor rec, or remote work, job prospects thin out fast. And while the town is charm, nightlife is basically non-existent. The wildest Saturday involves a brewery and a live bluegrass band that ends by 10. Found this gem. I moved to Lander after burning out in Seattle. I make less money. I own less stuff. But I climbed 47 days last year. My commute is 12 minutes, and I haven't thought about traffic in so long I forgot it was a thing. The catch. Nearest Trader Joe's is 300 miles away. I've made peace with it. Here's the honest truth. Wind River Reservation borders the town, and the relationship is complex. Respect and understand the history before moving here. Healthcare is available, but not extensive. Major issues mean medical flights. And the outdoor community, while welcoming, can feel cliquey. If you don't climb, hike, or fish, you might struggle to find your people. Could you build a life around mountains and climbing? Or do you need more than a gear shop and a river to feel whole? Lander is for people who prioritize access over amenities. But if you want Colorado's peaks without Colorado's crowds, the next town is practically a secret. Number 3. Lake City, Colorado. Lake City is what happens when a mountain town refuses to be discovered. It's the most isolated incorporated town in Colorado. One road out surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks and apparently protected by sheer inconvenience. There's no Aspen here. No Telluride crowds. No one asking what you do for a living while wearing $400 yoga pants. This is Colorado's forgotten corner, where 14ers outnumber coffee shops and the population hasn't changed meaningfully since the 1880s. It's raw, it's beautiful, and it's so quiet that your own thoughts sound loud. Population 400 year-round. 400. That's a small high school class, not a town. Summer swells it slightly with hikers and off-roaders. But nothing like the circus of more accessible mountain towns. There are no chain stores, not one. No Starbucks, no McDonald's, no Target glow on the horizon. The nearest Walmart is in Gunnison, 55 miles and a mountain pass away. Lake City has a general store, a handful of restaurants, and exactly the kind of nothing that some people crave. Median home price, $520,000, high for the size, but low for Colorado. Rent barely exists because so few properties turn over. Cost of living tracks about 5% above average, mostly due to the logistics of getting anything to this remote valley. Crime is essentially non-existent. The sheriff probably knows every resident by name you stand on. The main street, which is also the only street and look up. Mountains everywhere. Not distant mountains, but in your face, dominating your vision mountains. The sand dunes here are raw, like they haven't finished being carved. Lake San Cristobal glitters a few miles south, fed by snowmelt that looks too blue to be real. You hike an hour and you're in alpine meadows bursting with wildflowers, alone except for the occasional marmot whistle. The air is so thin and clean it feels like drinking water. The silence is an empty and full of wind and bird calls, and the profound absence of anything man-made. Lake City is isolated on purpose. That one road in, it's Highway 149, which crosses mountain passes that close with snow and don't reopen until someone gets around to it. The nearest hospital is in Gunnison, an hour away on good roads. Winter means true isolation, supplies run low, and you better hope your pipes don't freeze. The economy is almost entirely tourism dependent, which means summers are busy and winters are quiet in a way that can tip into eerie. Jobs are scarce, entertainment is DIY. If you need stimulation, you will not find it here. This one at home. I moved to Lake City to write a novel. It took 3 years, but I finished it. I also learned how to fix my own plumbing, survive without cell service, and identify every bird by sound because there's nothing else to listen to. I haven't worn real pants since 2019. Living the dream. Let's not romanticize the hard. Altitude sickness is real. Lake City sits at 671 feet. Medical emergencies are genuinely scary when help is an hour away. The winter isolation breaks some people. Seasonal depression isn't a joke at 9,000 feet with limited daylight. And the tiny population means limited social options. If you don't vibe with the 400 people here, you're out of luck. Could you handle one road in and one road out? Or does true isolation sound more like a trap than a paradise? Lake City is Colorado's best-kept secret, but if you want dark skies and southern charm, the next spot proves the East Coast still has wild places. Number 2. Burnsville. North Carolina. Burnsville sits at the foot of Mount Mitchell, the highest peak east of the Mississippi, and somehow nobody's talking about it. While Asheville drowns in brewery tours and tourism overflow, Burnsville just exists, quiet, affordable, and surrounded by mountains that rival anything west of the Rockies for sheer presence. This is the dark sky sanctuary that the East Coast forgot it had. No resorts, no influencers doing handstands on overlooks, just the Blue Ridge doing what it's done for millions of years, being incomprehensibly beautiful without asking for credit. Population 1,700, small enough that the coffee shop owner knows your order by the second visit. Traffic is a foreign concept. The main street is maybe one light, and rush hour means 3 cars at the 4-way stop. Chain stores are minimal. There's a Dollar General, the Appalachian Embassy, as locals joke, but otherwise it's local shops, family diners, and the kind of hardware store where they'll actually help you find what you need. Median home price, $280,000. Rent, around $950. Cost of living runs 12% below the national average, making it one of the most affordable mountain towns in America. Crime is negligible. The local paper's police blotter is mostly lost dogs and minor disputes over property lines. You drive the Blue Ridge Parkway at sunset, but not the crowded stretches near Asheville, the quiet miles north of Burnsville, where you might be the only car for 20 minutes. The mountains layer into the distance, each ridge a slightly different shade of blue, fading into mist and sky until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Mount Mitchell rises above everything, dark and ancient. At night, you drive outside town and look up. The Milky Way doesn't just appear, it dominates. This is one of the darkest skies on the East Coast, and standing beneath it feels like a religious experience, even for atheists. Burnsville is quiet because it's not convenient. The nearest major airport is Asheville, 45 minutes away, and even that's a small regional hub. Charlotte is 2 hours. The roads are winding, which is beautiful, but also slow. Winter brings ice storms that can shut things down for days. The economy is limited. Healthcare, education, and tourism are the main employers. High-paying jobs require remote work or commuting. And while Asheville's culture is nearby, Burnsville itself, sleepy nightlife means a brewery that closes by 9 and maybe a bluegrass jam at the community center. One poster nailed it. I bought a cabin outside Burnsville for less than a parking spot cost in DC. I see the Milky Way from my porch. My neighbor brings me tomatoes from her garden. The catch: I drove 40 minutes for a decent bagel yesterday. Worth it, but my New York friends think I've lost my mind. This isn't a fairy tale. Appalachian poverty is real, and Burnsville isn't immune to the economic struggles of the region. Healthcare is limited. Serious issues mean a trip to Asheville or beyond. Internet is improving but inconsistent in rural areas, and the cultural offerings, while charming, are small-town scale. If you need museums, theater, and diverse restaurants, you'll feel the lack. Could you trade city lights for the darkest skies on the East Coast? Or does 45 minutes to a bagel cross the line? Burnsville is for people who want mountains without the marketing. But if you want something truly strange, Victorian homes, redwoods, and fog that feels alive, the #1 spot is calling. Number 1. Eureka, California. Eureka isn't a mountain town in the traditional sense. It's something weirder, a Victorian seaport where redwood forests meet the Pacific, where fog rolls in like a slow-motion horror movie, and where you can buy a 19th century mansion for less than a San Francisco studio apartment. This is the California that tourism forgot. No beaches with volleyball nets, no wine country pretension, no tech money pushing everyone out. Just mist, forest, ocean, and the kind of moody beauty that attracts artists, weirdos, and people who think sunny California is overrated. Population, 27,000. By far the largest town on this list, but it feels smaller. The downtown is compact, the neighborhoods are quiet, and the tourists, what few there are, stick to a couple of blocks before disappearing. Chain stores exist but don't dominate. You'll find a Costco and a Safeway, but the character comes from the independent shops, the local breweries, and the antique stores stuffed into Victorian buildings that look like they were shipped from San Francisco in 1890. Median home price, $380,000. Rent, around $1,400. That's expensive by Midwest standards, but practically free by California math. You can buy a gorgeous Victorian fixer-upper for under $300,000, the kind of house that would cost for $1 million in the Bay Area. Cost of living runs about 15% above the national average, mostly due to California's baseline costs. But for what you get, redwoods, ocean, mountains, and architecture, it's shockingly affordable. Crime is moderate. Eureka has its issues, but nothing compared to larger California cities. Picture this. You wake up in a Victorian house with original woodwork and bay windows that cost less than your friend's condo in Oakland. Outside, fog presses against the glass like it's trying to read your mail. You drive 20 minutes and you're standing among redwood trees so massive they make you feel like an insect, their bark soft with centuries of moss. You drive the other direction and you're on cliffs above the Pacific, watching waves explode against rocks while seabirds will overhead. The mountains of the Coast Range rise to the east, green and wild and empty. At night, the fog glows orange from the old street lamps downtown, and the whole town feels like a dream you're not sure you're having. Eureka is remote. The nearest major airport is in San Francisco or Sacramento, 5 hours south. The roads are winding and slow. This is not commuter country, and the weather is an acquired taste. Fog, rain, gray skies. This is not so-called sunshine. If you need vitamin D, you'll need supplements. The economy is historically tied to logging and fishing, both of which have declined. Poverty rates are higher than California averages. Homelessness is visible. The town is gritty in a way that travel blogs don't mention. It's not dangerous, but it's also not a postcard. Found this one and it stayed with me. I moved to Eureka because I wanted to live inside a fog machine surrounded by trees. Nailed it. My Victorian house cost less than my college debt. The catch: everything is damp all the time. My books are warped. My shoes never fully dry. But I walk to the bay every morning, watch the fishing boats, and wonder why I ever thought I needed sunshine to be happy. I don't. Let's not pretend. Eureka has challenges. The economic decline has left scars. You'll see boarded up storefronts alongside renovated gems. Drug issues and homelessness are present and visible, particularly downtown. Healthcare is adequate, but not exceptional. And the isolation is real. If you need regular access to big city amenities, you'll feel trapped. Also, the rain. It rains constantly from October to May. Your windshield wipers will become your closest friends. If you need sunshine to function, this is not your place. Could you trade sunshine for fog, crowds for redwoods, and a condo for a Victorian mansion? Or does gritty and gray sound more like a warning than an invitation? Eureka is for people who want to disappear into beauty without paying the California premium. It's strange, moody, and mysteriously gorgeous. And somehow, almost no one's talking about it. So there you have it. 8 mountain towns that haven't been ruined yet. Towns where the only line you'll wait in is for pie. Where beauty comes without the billionaire tax. Where you can still afford to buy a home and hear yourself think. But here's the thing. These places stay quiet because people don't talk about them. So, maybe don't share this video with everyone you know. Maybe keep it between us. The people who find these towns, they're not looking to conquer them. They're looking to disappear into them. Protect the quiet peaks. I'll see you in the mountains.